Kenyans, every year we inject another 800,000. Of these 800,000, 50,000 are absorbed by the corporate sector. Another 150, 120,000 are absorbed by the formal SME sector. The remainder, about 600, 700, enter a space that we can actually call a lottery. They are not sure of what to do. They don't know how much they will make. On a good day, they make 100 shillings, sometimes 200 shillings a day. On a very good day, they make 300 shillings. And on a completely bad day, the council askaris go away with all their wares and they make zero. That is the kind of situation we are in, and that is where millions of Kenyans are. In our plan, as we listened to the people of Kenya around the world, we came to the conclusion that an inclusive, employment-creating economic model is about investing the limited capital available where it creates the most employment, and that is at the bottom of the pyramid. And that is why we came to the conclusion that the bottom-up economic model was the most optimal for all our productive sectors. Our plan, therefore, has prioritized the following 7 sectors: agriculture, MSMEs, housing and settlement, manufacturing, the digital superhighway and creative economy, the service economy, environment and climate change. These are the critical sectors that we want to drive our development. I will talk about the enablers further down the road. And we have chosen these 6 sectors on the following criteria: their ability to bring down the cost of living, our intention to eradicate hunger, and the big question of creating employment, and the resultant expanding of our tax revenue base, as well as improving our foreign exchange balance, and the whole subject of inclusive growth. Those are the 6 parameters that we used to arrive at why agriculture, why housing, why infrastructure. These are the criteria we used. Let me explain to you why. For example, we believe as Kenya Kwanza that investing in agriculture will give us not just employment, it will also give us foreign exchange, it will give us, it will eradicate hunger, it will expand our incomes, it will also expand our industrialization agenda. Investing in agriculture is because also agriculture is the most competitive sector in Kenya. We have the best practices of agriculture anywhere in the world. If you go, for example, to the flower auction in Amsterdam, 25% of flowers come from Kenya, and they are competitively grown. Agriculture is equally important because it controls 50% of our economy, 25% directly and 25% indirectly. Why do we believe that agriculture is the best place to invest? Number one, increasing agricultural productivity is the secret, because agricultural productivity has not grown at the same in tandem with growth in our population. And therefore, it is very important that we target agricultural productivity. It will give us a quick turnaround of our investment, because what we need to do is to capitalize the agricultural sector. And how do we capitalize the agricultural sector? And why is it a quick turnaround? Number one, capitalizing the agricultural sector, you don't have to buy the cows. The cows are already there. All you need is animal feed. You don't have to buy the farm. The farm is already there. You don't have to hire the farmers. The farmers are already there. So there is already a stock of infrastructure and resources that you can begin with. Therefore, we need to capitalize that sector so that we can provide animal feed, we can provide good quality seed, we can provide good quality affordable fertilizer, and we can provide agrochemicals. That will turn around the agricultural sector in a very short time. Let me give you an example, because it is important for us to understand where we are. We have 2.2 million dairy cows lactating at any one time in Kenya. On average, the national average is that we get 2.5 liters per cow. It's possible to stretch these cows to 10, 15, 20, we have 40, we have 50. Let's not go there. Let's just assume we double from 2.5 to 5 liters. And that doesn't take any miracle. It just takes provision of animal feed. Our technical teams have already calculated how much that will cost. It will cost 4,000 shillings per cow. If we went there, we would actually double our milk production from 5 billion liters to 10 billion liters within a year, just by providing animal feed. We would double, and the farmers who are here know. We have listened to farmers in Kitale, we've listened to farmers in Embu, we've listened to farmers across the country. They are speaking the same language, animal feed. And if we doubled our milk production, we could possibly have an extra 200 billion shillings if we sold it to our neighbors. I want to say, I am not talking about buying new cows. I'm not talking about getting new farmers. Same farmers, same cows, same infrastructure. They are doing it already. All we need to do is to capitalize them. Many of them don't have the money to buy animal feed. That's all. That's all. We have costed what that will cost us, and it will cost us 8.8 billion shillings. And if we deploy 8.8 billion shillings, within the year, they will return the 8.8 billion shillings and make for themselves another 10 billion shillings. We will get more people working. We will get our milk coolers working. We will get our processors working. We will get our exporters working. And the secret with agriculture is that it has the highest multiplier on matters employment. Investing in agriculture also will help us deal with the animal of cost of living. There is a paradox. Farmers, on one hand, looking for higher incomes for themselves, and consumers, on the other hand, looking for cheaper products. That's a contradiction. How do you sort out that paradox? Agriculture has the potential to sort it out for us. Investing in agriculture, a farmer who produces 10 bags today per acre because they are struggling, the same farmer can produce 20, 25 bags if we supported them with a capital to plow in time, get the correct certified seed, get subsidized fertilizer, and ensure that the post-harvest challenges are managed. The same farmer, in capitalizing their operations, they can double their production. And when they double their production, it means they can sell at a lower price to the consumer. Therefore, the challenge of cost of living is not too scientific. The challenge of cost of living is increasing agricultural productivity, period. This whole story about Ukraine and all this is a lost cause. And I want to say the following, that if we had not withdrawn the fertilizer subsidy that was there in our Big Four plan, we wouldn't be in the crisis we are in today. It is as simple as that. If we had stuck to the plan on food security, ensuring that we support our farmers, we capitalize the agricultural sector, ladies and gentlemen, we wouldn't be where we are. It is as simple as that. I have told you already that we are spending 300 billion shillings every year to import food that we can grow locally. Let me give you an example. Edible oil alone, this year, we spent 90 billion this year to import edible oil, which we can get from soya, canola, simsim, palm oil. All these are not foreign crops. These are crops we can grow in Kenya. We can save enormous amounts of money of hard-earned foreign exchange if we changed our model and put in place mechanisms, which we are suggesting here. We spoke with farmers in Busia. We spoke with farmers in Kakamega. They told us they are ready to grow the oil crops. All they wanted is a sure market that if they grow, somebody will buy them. That's all they asked. That's all they asked. And for sure, if we are importing 90 billion, we can start there. We can substitute. We can tell them, instead of us importing, please grow. We have at least 90 billion we can buy. We can begin there. The same goes with rice. This year, we have imported 25 billion worth of rice. We can surely double our rice production in Kenya. It's possible. From where to Aero and to all the other places, we can surely double our rice production, and we can actually grow. We are at the moment, I think, doing 18% production locally. We can do 50%. And if we did 50%, we would save 15 billion shillings of foreign exchange that we are using. And that 15 billion would go to our farmers and be in our economy. Agriculture equally will help us sort out the challenge of unemployment, investing in agriculture, because agriculture has the highest multiplier effect on employment creation, especially because investing in agriculture means the agrochemical factories are working, the fertilizer factories are working, the value addition further the road manufacturing is working, the agro-based industries are working, and therefore it has the highest multiplier effect in terms of creating jobs. So investing in agriculture is investing in jobs. And remember, we are trying to sort out three things. We are trying to sort out unemployment, we're trying to create jobs at any one time, we're trying to expand our tax revenue, our tax base, and we are trying to grow our export earnings, or at least save our foreign exchange. Let me also say, agriculture will also make many Kenyans, if we invest in agriculture, save on their incomes. Today, on average, every Kenyan spends 54% of their income on food. 54%. In fact, the poorer families are spending 60% of their income on food alone. And our statistics show that we spend 3 trillion shillings on food as a nation. Just imagine for a moment, if we saved just 10% on food, because we have improved our productivity. From 3 trillion, 10%, we would save 300 billion that would go somewhere else in our economy. So investing in agriculture has a bearing on what remains in your pocket. It's what remains in your pocket. Let me also say the following. Hunger is a big problem in Kenya. We have close to 2 million people who suffer hunger. Majority of them, for your information, are farmers. Majority of these 2 million people who are suffering hunger, it means they can't grow enough to eat. As Kenya Kwanza, we have worked out with our agroeconomists a package for these 2 million farmers, for us to give them inputs and make sure that they use the farm they are doing now and produce enough for them to eat and a surplus. We have a program for 5 years to invest 90 billion shillings. 30 billion shillings revolving fund and 12 billion shillings every year to support them on extension service and making sure they do the right thing. In 5 years, these 2 million farmers, once supported the way I have suggested, they will not only produce enough food for them to eat and get out of hunger, but they will generate a surplus in total, they will create 500 billion shillings worth of product. From 90 billion. From 90 billion, they will create 500 billion. This is the 2 million our competitors want to put on handouts. Their handout program in 5 years will cost 720 billion with zero return. Our plan will cost 90 billion with 500 billion shillings return. That is the difference. Agriculture equally will stimulate our industrialization. All of you know that 50% of our entire manufacturing sector is agro-based. 40% is food and beverage, and another 10% other non-food agricultural manufacturing. So, increasing the productivity of our agricultural sector naturally influences our manufacturing and industrialization program. So, what are we going to do as Kenya Kwanza? We are going to provide adequate, affordable working capital to all our farmers, either through their farmer organization groups or cooperatives or other farmer organizations, so that we can capitalize our agricultural sector, because the single most important impediment to the productivity of our agricultural sector is capital. Number two, farmers told us across the country that they needed to guarantee their returns. Every farmer want to know that when they produce, there is a market, and that they will not get stuck with their products. So that is where we want to go, to provide GMR, a guaranteed minimum return mechanism that is built around insurance, so that every farmer will know that when they produce, there will be a market and they will not lose. We will transform, of course, our 2 million resource-poor farmers to produce food surplus. We will reduce our dependency on basic food imports, especially edible oil and rice. Those are our two targets. And we will invest in the underperforming products, coffee, coffee, cashew nut, and of course invest in the emerging crops, macadamia, avocado, and the area of flowers, and the area of flowers and vegetables. And we will also move up the value chain. Our tea, we only value add 5% of our tea. Our strategy is to move value addition of our tea to 50% in the next 3 years. The second sector, that's agriculture. The second sector we want to focus on is transforming our MSMEs. I have given you the statistics. The statistics is that we have close to 15 million people in that space. 10 million of them hardly make 100, 200, 300 shillings. Our intervention is threefold. Number one, we want to create business infrastructure for these people. There must be markets, there must be spaces, there must be areas where business can be done legitimately and decriminalize people's enterprises. Number two, there must be legislation to protect everybody's business. The details are in the manifesto. And number three, the single largest challenge the MSMEs face is that they pay interest on credit that none of you here can believe. Most of them pay 10% per day, which translates to 3,600 per year. Better ones pay 10% per month, which translates into 120% per year. And in so doing, their profits are eaten by just one item, credit. Our plan is to ensure through the Hustler Fund, and we have said we are going to commit 50 billion shillings every year to the Hustler Fund, so that the Mamamboga and the Boda Kai and the fellow at the kiosk and the fellow at the saloon and the good lady running a saloon somewhere can find credit that is not predatory. And these are the numbers. If we increase, because that's the net effect. The net effect is that we will increase the earnings of these 10 million Kenyans by 200 shillings per day. That is 2 billion shillings a day. And that is 760 billion shillings a year. Any manufacturer who gets 1% of that market gets 7.6 billion shillings business. So when we say bottom up, it is not the same as bottom versus up. It is bottom up. Let me go to the third subject of housing. Housing, ladies and gentlemen, we are short of 2 million houses as we speak. And every year, the requirement is we build 250,000 houses. We are only building 50,000 houses every year. And of the 50,000 houses, only 2% are low-cost houses. The rest are out of reach to most Kenyans. The challenge is that that problem is a moving target. Every year, 500,000 Kenyans join or go into cities and towns. The rate of urbanization is 4.4%. At the rate of 4.4%, every year, 500,000 Kenyans find themselves in urban settlements. And we already have a shortage of houses. So as Kenya Kwanza, we looked at the challenge and we decided to turn it into an opportunity. We've turned it into an opportunity to do several things. Number one, of course, to create jobs. Number two is to create affordable, low-cost houses. How are we going to do it? This is how we plan to do it. First, we need to face the challenge of land. The biggest cost that goes into housing is the cost of land. We decided that we are going to do public land or we are going to get land that is not expensive, even if it is away from the city, and provide infrastructure to get people from where it is to the city. Number two, we are going to work with developers to structure low-cost financing. Today, many developers get loans at 14, 15, 20%. We want to structure a 3% to a maximum of 5% financing for low-cost housing. The third component is we want to engage modern technology of building. We do not have to use stones. We can employ new technologies that deliver for us cheaper houses. Number four, we have to standardize housing products, windows, doors, and all the other infrastructure. Today, everybody, each one of us is building a designer house, because every house, the windows are different, the doors are different. So it's a designer house because it's all different. What we are going to do is we are going to standardize so that we can mass produce housing products. If we know that a one-bedroomed house, the size of the door will be like this, you can produce them en masse. The size of the window will be like this, you can produce them en masse. And our Juakali sector can produce these housing products en masse. That brings down the cost by almost 30%, just by eliminating the designer structures of every house. Of course, we all know designer suits are more expensive than all the other suits. And that's what we are doing. And finally, we have to structure an offtake plan. Low cost, long-term mortgage. Let me tell you, my regret is that we didn't implement this housing plan that was in the Big Four. Because our plan is to build 250 housing units every year, and our plan is to ensure that at least 50% of these houses are low-cost houses. We want to make it possible for a person who is paying 10,000 shillings today rent to still pay 10,000 for a two-bedroom house, and in 15, 20 years, the house belongs to them because they are paying mortgage. It is possible to deliver a house of $1 million, maximum 2 million shillings, and therefore the mortgage can fit into the rent citizens are paying today. That way, we will create more property owners in our great country. Today, we have about 30,000 mortgages. It is our belief that we should get to 1 million mortgages in the next 5 years. The fifth item that I want to go to is manufacturing. Manufacturing is the place we are not doing well. In the last 5 years, manufacturing as a contribution of our GDP has gone down from 9% to 7%, 9.3% to 7%. That reverse is not healthy for our country. The challenge with our manufacturing is that it has always focused on capital-intensive investment rather than labor-intensive outcomes. We are focused on 5 areas in our manufacturing plan. Leather, let me begin there. It's a very sad story, let me tell you. on leather. Kenya has the third largest herd in the continent of Africa of cows. Third largest. Do you understand? We have close to 30 million livestock. We slaughter 3 million livestock every year. We can only use 10% of hides and skin. 10%. We were in Kajiado. We were in Wajir. And the citizens there were telling us, why are you allowing us to throw away our hides and skins? It's being eaten by dogs. Sometimes we have to bury it. Sometimes we have to dispose it. In fact, disposing it has become a challenge. Meanwhile, we are importing 20 million pairs of shoes every year made from leather products, made from skins and hides of other people's cows. We are burying our own leather. Other people, then we go to buy other people's. Today, the leather industry is 15 billion, right? Thereabout, 15 billion shilling industry. We can move it to 140 billion shilling industry. Today, the leather industry employs 10,000 in the formally and another 17,000. We can employ 120,000 Kenyans in the leather industry. I want you to listen to me carefully. I am not talking about us importing anything. We have the cows. We are slaughtering them anyway. The only problem is that we are not making use of the skin and hides. That, I don't want to say it's stupid. Yeah? I don't want to say that. But you see, that's where we are. So, what are we proposing as Kenya Kwanza? We're saying we will turn around the leather industry. We will invest. The reason why we took the SGR to Naivasha is because we thought we would use it to create a big industry out of the steam that is available readily there and out of the power that is readily available there. We will create a huge industry around the leather industry. Leather products, from shoes to bags to everything else that goes with leather, will be a big, and that does not require importing nothing. We have everything here. All we need to do is to leverage on technology and bring transfer of knowledge and skills, and we are good to go. Building products is another space that we have, especially if we are going to go to low-cost housing and implement our housing plan. The whole Juakali sector will be busy generating doors, generating windows, making sure that there are enough building material products in quarries and in all the other places. Pharmaceutical industry is another space. Our budget on health is 550 billion every year. Our expenditure, let me say, our total expenditure on health is 550 billion. 20% of that is pharmaceutical products and consumables. We are only producing 20%. It is possible for us to produce 100%. We have pharmaceutical companies here. Let me tell you the story. We have pharmaceutical companies here. They are producing at half the capacity. The reason why we are not exploiting that capacity, creating more jobs in the capacity that they are using so that we can supply our own pharmaceutical products is a very big guess. Garment and textile industry. That is the other space that we have. The garment industry today, we export 500 million, which is about 50 billion of garments outside the country. When we signed into AGOA, we were supposed to produce the cotton to provide the yarn and the fabric for this export. As of today, 40%, not 40%, actually 40 billion of yarn and fabric is being imported from Asia to come and at the EPZ. I was in Kilifi last week, and the people working at the EPZ were asking me, Mr. Deputy President, we are producing garments here that we are exporting to America. We can also produce garments that can be consumed, that can be sold in Kenya. They have the technology. So that is a space we want to focus on, the whole cotton value chain, from growing of cotton. And I want to give you the good news. We are going to start growing BT cotton in Kenya. Yes. It has higher yields. It is more drought resistant. The trials have been done, and the trials are very good. They are showing that we have very good productivity, and therefore, one more time, we will have our cotton industry up and running, and we can push that industry to another 100 billion shilling industry. I can say the same of edible oil. It's another value chain that can give us jobs. I can say the same of electric motorcycles and electric cars. That's another value chain we can develop here because we have the market for it here. We have a market of 200,000 border borders every year. That's a market we can supply from Kenya. Let me leave that there. We have huge space, good people, in manufacturing, and that is our focus. Number five, is the digital highway. We are saying it's time that we move into the digital space. That's where the whole world is going anyway. Most of our services are now on a digital platform. Very many investments are in that direction. What do we plan to do as Kenya Kwanza? We plan to do the following as Kenya Kwanza. Number one, we already have a 10,000 kilometer backbone, fiber optic backbone, that goes all the way to every sub-county. It already serves 60% of the population. Kenya Kwanza, we want to invest in what we called in electricity connection, the last mile. When we started the last mile on electricity in 2013, there were only 2.3 million connections. We now have 8.8 million connections to houses. What we will do with the internet and the digital highway is, in the next 5 years, we will extend the fiber by 100,000 kilometers. Let me repeat, so that you're clear. We will extend by 100,000 kilometers. How are we going to do it? We are going to extend it on the electricity grid backbone that already exists. Every home, every shopping center, every school, every dispensary, every hospital that is connected to the grid will be connected to the internet. And in 5 years, we will close the digital gap, and every Kenyan will have access to the internet. The many young people who today are struggling with bundles, the many young people who want to do their thing on the internet, or to make calls, or to communicate, they will have an opportunity to do so with ease from the comfort of their homes or at the shopping center, because we already have 24,000 markets connected to electricity, and those 24,000 markets will be connected to the internet. That will be the biggest revolution ever. We have the opportunity to create close to 5,000 new SMEs. Yes, sir. We have the opportunity to leverage on government delivery of government services. And we have the opportunity for online shopping and many other things that come with access to internet. And for your information, there is money to do it. We already have 15 billion shillings in the Universal Fund. So if we securitize the Universal, this whole program will cost about 40 billion. So if you have 15 billion, you can deliver the rest. It's as simple as that. There was a proposal by the Communication Authority to use the 15 billion to build a hotel. So I think deploying the last mile of the internet is more like it, because that is the core function of the Communication Authority. I have said, and let me repeat, every school that's on the grid, every hospital, every dispensary, every market that's on the grid will be connected. And the creative potential of our young people, the creative industry will now have the very perfect chance to be able to do their thing. The seventh space is the service economy. We believe as Kenya Kwanza that the service economy is a key factor in employment, expanding our tax base, expanding our tax revenues, and ensuring that we have foreign exchange. In that financial sector, we want to leverage on our SACCOs and cooperatives to deliver financial products, and especially credit, affordable credit, to the bottom of the pyramid. On top of the Hustler Fund, we're going to develop other packages that will make it possible for us to deliver financial products that create access to credit to the majority of people who do not have credit at the bottom of the pyramid. That way, we will expand their enterprises, and that way we will also make sure that they participate in job creation and in expanding our tax base. Under services, we also have tourism. Tourism, we are stuck at 2 million visitors for a very long time. We have to decide whether we want the sector to work for the few or to create jobs for the many. We just have to If we continue, we have to diversify our tourism product. It cannot continue to be beach and wildlife. We have to do adventure. We have to do culture. We have to do many other areas. And we have to create the infrastructure for young people. We have to create infrastructure that is affordable, low-cost hotels, bed and breakfast facilities. We have to budget hotels. We cannot continue to sell the high-end products because it just satisfies a few people. In fact, we are so stuck there that today you have so many exclusive facilities. Some of the facilities you pay 500,000 shillings a night. How many people will pay 500,000 shillings a night? What people? How are we going to grow our numbers? Thailand. Let me give you an example. Thailand, a country like, just like Kenya, our size, slightly more people, 70 million people, 50 something million in Kenya. So we are almost the same. But they do 40 million tourists every year because they have created so many niches and they have made it possible for so many people to travel. We can choose to continue our tourism to be high-end and we will be stuck at 2 million. But if we took it to 20 million, we will have more people working in hotels. We will have more people helping with transport. We will have. So, in fact, tourism is the ultimate trickle-down model that is causing a problem in our country. We just have to turn it the other way around. It cannot continue to be the way it is. It doesn't matter what you get out of 2 million people. It's not the same as if we had 10 million people coming to Kenya. If we had 10 million people coming to Kenya, as a factor, they say for every tourist employs 3 people. So the numbers will add up. So we just have to change the model and do a better package. I know players in the industry sector may have issues with that, but I think it's time. I think it's time. Finally, let me talk about aviation. And I'm going to single out the sugar industry because that's where we have a huge crisis. But let me talk about aviation. Africa has 15% of the population of the world, but we have only 2% of air traffic, meaning that there is potential, there is huge potential for us in the air travel space. Kenya Airways was doing well up to a certain point. And I dare say that the problem with Kenya Airways and the financial challenges therein are a reflection of internal and managerial mistakes rather than market prospects. It is not the market. It cannot be the market. There is a problem with management, and there is a problem with conflict of interest, and there is a problem that we all know. Being a national asset and being a strategic asset, Kenya Airways is not an asset we would want to let go at all. And therefore, it cannot also continue to be on life support forever. We have to agree. So our commitment as Kenya Kwanza is that we are going to develop a turnaround strategy for Kenya Airways within 2 years and bring it back to what it is supposed to do. And it is possible. Our sugar industry, and I was in Mumias the other day, has suffered the brand of underinvestment. We have committed as Kenya Kwanza that aside from writing off all the debts that are owed by government, we are also going to negotiate all the other debts owed to banks and other individuals with a view of paying them off so that we can make the factories in Mumias, in Zoya, and all the other government-owned factories free of debt. And then we can then inject new capital and ensure that we have modern facilities that will be able to deliver to our sugarcane farmers the same way the private mills are doing. It cannot be that all the private mills are doing well and all the government mills are making losses. It's not possible. There must be a structural problem. Let me also talk about sports, because it's an important sector for us. We are a great sporting nation, and we need to leverage our sports to do at least 3 things. Number 1, to project our country and profile our country in a manner that we can leverage on the other sectors of the economy, number 1. Number 2, we must create a big sports garment industry out of Kenya, out of our sportsmen and women. Because everywhere in the world, if you said this shoe comes from Kenya, the sporting nation, you will get a premium price for it. And of course, we must make sure that the fund that we set up to deal with matters of sports infrastructure, which currently is being used to do other things, we have to ring fence that money. We collected, I think, 15 billion, but it was used to build hospitals instead of used to build sports infrastructure. All the resources coming from the fund must go to developing sports infrastructure. As I conclude, I want to talk about environment and climate change. We commit as Kenya Kwanza to grow 5 million acres of trees under agroforestry. We also commit to build industry out of solid waste. And we are going to begin with Sakaja in Nairobi. We're going to begin with Sakaja in Nairobi. Solid waste, apart from being an environmental hazard, we can flip it and create jobs, industry, power, and many other products, building materials out of it. That will be our focus. Let me talk about 2 or 3 enablers. One of them is going to be healthcare. We have been on the campaign trail and we have committed to the people of Kenya that we will have a universal health insurance that will make sure that every Kenyan will go to hospital and they will walk away without paying a penny. after they get treatment. Let me say 4 things. The rest are in the manifesto. Let me say 4 things. We need to do 4 things. Number 1, as a matter of urgency and within our first 3 months, we will procure and put in place a state-of-the-art health integrated information management system that will make it possible for health records of every Kenyan to be portable, so that you don't have to write on paper every time, and you don't have to go for MRI here, and then you go to another hospital, you do another MRI. It should be possible to make that MRI that was done in this hospital available in the next hospital, because we have. That will also assist us in making sure that we have information on the health of our country and how many people are in what category and what do we need to do, and even what kind of drugs we need to keep on our shelves. Secondly, we are going to sort out and establish a stakeholder-managed national procurement scheme for drugs to leverage on bulk purchase and also to bring transparency and accountability in public procurement of drugs to eliminate the KEMSA scandals. What are we saying? What are we saying? We are saying the following. The same thing that happens with procurement of our petroleum products. Industry, government, they come together and they procure collectively in bulk for Kenya. And that is why our oil products are the most competitive. So KEMSA will not procure alone. In fact, we had a meeting with the health stakeholders, and they told us a simple hospital, one hospital, I don't want to mention their name, said they buy drugs as a single hospital much more cheaply than KEMSA buys, but KEMSA buys in bulk. So they were wondering, I thought if you buy in bulk, you get a lower price. But KEMSA buys in bulk, but pays more. So we are recommending as Kenya Kwanza that the same model that involves stakeholders, we are going to bring private hospitals, we're going to bring public hospitals, we are going to bring other players, and we purchase drugs for Kenya collectively, so that we eliminate all matters to do with transparency and we avoid the problems in KEMSA. We have committed, because we had meetings with health professionals and people in the professional sector, to deal with the challenge that currently exists between health professionals and the counties and the national government. That space there is not tidy, and we have committed ourselves that we will resolve that space. Counties are saying they do not have the money. Give me some water. I thought you were bringing me water. You're giving me more instructions. Thank you very much. And thirdly, we have worked with health professionals, and our information is that we will redesign the National Hospital Insurance Fund to make it trustworthy, to deliver on its mandate. And our analysis shows that a contribution structure where the lowest now is contributing 500. The lowest in our structure will contribute not 500 but 300. And the highest will contribute 3,000. That structure of contribution will fund everybody's requirements, and there will be no out of pocket. We will stop the harambes, and there will be no additional resources required apart from the public ones. Do you understand what you are saying? So the highest paying, like yours truly, will now move from 1,700 to 3,000. And the lowest will go down from 500 to 300. So that we can, that continuum, our estimate is that we will get a product that covers the 550 billion shillings we need to take care of our health requirements annually. Another enabler, of course, is education. You agree with me that education is in a crisis. Education, especially higher education, is in a crisis. Most of our universities are struggling. In fact, most of our universities only get maybe 50%, maybe 55% of the money they require to be able to run the programs they run. And as a result, universities have 65 billion shilling debt to NHIF, to NSSF, to pay as you earn. So, in fact, the Auditor General said the other day, all our universities are technically insolvent. That's the sorry state of our universities. So, we have to rethink what we are doing with our higher education. The proposal we are making as Kenya Kwanza is that we are going to merge the Higher Education Loans Board, the University Funding Board, and the TVET Funding Board into one unit. And this unit will be responsible for scholarships, it will be responsible for funding, and it will assess all students. Today, there are students who don't need scholarship, but they are given scholarship. So there will be assessment so that we can close the gap. And it should be possible for us as government to also know what are the skills. Sometimes we are training people in fields that we already have a surplus. We should be able to say as a government, if it is this field we have a surplus, we cannot fund. Let us fund the fields that we have shortages, so that we can close the gaps and be able to drive our Vision 2030 the way it is. So we are going to call this organization the National Skills and Funding Council, so that it looks at the skills and it funds the skills that are necessary for the trajectory we are going into. And then finally, we will complete the construction of the 52 TVET institutions that are not yet constructed. We have 52 constituencies that do not have. We have 250 wards that do not have a vocational training center. We will do those. We will construct those also. And then we will also close the gap on teachers in our schools. We have a gap of 116,000 teachers. We have undertaken as Kenya Kwanza that we are going to hire the 116,000 teachers in two tranches. 50% year one, 50% year two. We have also undertaken that to lower the cost of education, we are going to have a special tariff for utilities, for power, for water, for internet to our learning institutions. we are going to have a special tariff. We have also said that the current program on school feeding of 2 million school-going children, we're going to expand it. And we have agreed that we are going to work with counties. We're going to double to 4 million as national government. And every county that want to match, we are going to assist them to match a shilling for a shilling so that we can move the number of our children who have food in school to 8 million. That's our target. Statistics are very clear. We have close to 200,000 kids who are not in school, and the only reason they are not in school is that there is no food. And statistics has shown that if there is a school feeding program, the attendance and the performance is enhanced. We have agreed with the teachers that delocalization will be at the place when you are being hired. If you want to work in another county, not a home county, you will be hired at that level, and you will be paid an allowance for walking away from home. We have also agreed that the teacher continuous career development that currently is paid for by teachers will be paid for by government going forward. Finally, our youth and women are the largest component of our plan. Apart from them being cutting across all these sectors, when we are talking about jobs, when we are talking about internet, when we are talking about all this, but specifically we had engagement with the young people of this nation, and we agreed with them that there will be a youth ministry. We also agreed with them that we will have a special advisor at the presidency sitting in cabinet to ensure that all government programs and ministries are youth friendly. We also have a special charter with women, which we have signed. And we have agreed that 50% of the Kenya Kwanza cabinet will be the women of the Republic of Kenya. We have also undertaken that within 3 months we will have a mechanism, and within 12 months we will execute and attain the 2/3 gender principle that is provided for in the Constitution. And we have agreed that women and young people who have LPOs will become automatic beneficiaries of the Hustler Fund without any further requirements. Our persons living with disability, we had an engagement with them, and I see them around. And we agreed with them that all people living with disability will be enrolled in NHIF in the first 18 months. We also agreed that integrated schools to allow children living with disability to start interacting with the general public, to restore their confidence and self-esteem. We also agreed that we increase capitation of pupils living with disability by another 50% and set aside 15% of public funded bursaries set aside for pupils living with disability. Let me also, we will continue the program we have on roads, complete first all the stalled road projects and reassess in accordance with the proposals that were made to us in the county forums. In the county forums, several roads were suggested that would make the economies of those counties work better. We will work with the counties and the county priority roads so that we can go into the future with the road infrastructure that is there. And then finally, I will go to governance. And before I go to governance, let me speak to something about water. Water is very important as a principle. We have sat down with experts and we have agreed that this time round we are going to have a different strategy of deploying water, especially from the big dams. We have 57 dams that we already identified as government last term. We have changed, or we have agreed to work on a different strategy of delivery. The same way we have power purchase agreements, we are going to work on water purchase agreements so that we can bring the private sector on board. There are many people who are willing to invest in our huge dams or even in underground water. For example, the Turkana aquifer. There are proposals from the private sector that if we give them a water purchase agreement, they will be able to invest their own money. And the same way they sell us power, they can sell us water. So we believe that that is the future to delivery of water from big dams, so that it leaves government to work on climate smart water harvesting initiatives, water harvesting programs, implement policy that will ensure that we harvest and harness all the water that we can as we work with the private sector to deliver water from our aquifers and from our large dams. Finally, then I will take a few questions. Let me go finally to governance. We are the team that will complete the implementation of the 2010 Constitution. We believe that rather than mutilate the Constitution for political expediency, there is a lot that needs to be completed in terms of implementing the 2010 Constitution. Kenya Kwanza will end political weaponization of state institutions. This includes the criminal justice system, tax authorities, anti-corruption institutions, and the entire security apparatus. We want these institutions to operate independently as is expected of them by the Constitution. In our first 100 days, we will implement the constitutional requirement of a police service commission to have its own budget and its own accounting officer. We do not believe that the police should be begging for money from the office of the president. The police should run its own independent budget with its own accounting office. The saying, "He who pays the piper calls the tune," is the current problem with our criminal justice system. We are also going to operationalize on our first day in office the Judiciary Fund, and as established by the Constitution. We believe the judiciary must be independent, operationally, constitutionally, and financially. The 2.5% of the budget required to run the judiciary will be made available to the judiciary so that the judiciary can run its course, deliver justice, and do so in a timely manner. Because justice delayed is justice denied. Kenya Kwanza will end all unauthorized evictions and property demolitions. The kind of spectacle we see in Kariobangi and Korogosho is not only inhuman, it is unconstitutional, and it should never be allowed to happen to any other country. Kenya Kwanza will end ethnic profiling in the issuance of identity documents. And we will specifically establish an administrative appeal tribunal to ensure a fair and transparent process in the registration of persons with clear appeal procedure of not more than 14 days if a person is denied registration. Of course, we will appoint all the judges nominated by the Judicial Service Commission to the Court of Appeal. Of course we will. And we will do it within 7 days. Kenya Kwanza will ensure that we respect, we protect, and defend freedom of worship. We will lift the existing moratorium on registration of new religious organizations and expedite the registration processes. We will complete the transfer of all functions constitutionally earmarked as devolved functions to counties within 3 months. And we will strengthen the intergovernmental institutions of Council of Governors, IBEC, the Summit, and make sure that they meet regularly. We will, of course, respect the devolved system of government and review the formula for sharing national resources between the two levels of government and allocation of the revenue by either level of government to take into consideration population and other factors provided for under the law. On public service and our security services, we will ensure that there is a contributory benevolent fund for families of fallen and terminally ill officers, including mental illness. We will harmonize affordable housing mortgages similar to that of the judiciary and parliament to be available for our public service and the police. We will ensure that there is horizontal transfer options for people in service with the rest of the public service. It should be able to transfer your services between the police, public service, the civil service, so long as they are the same cadres. We'll ensure that there is an insurance cover for loss of life while on duty for all police officers, similar to that of the military. Security sector reform is good for everyone, and police reform efforts must not be wound back. Therefore, we will ensure that within the first 100 days, the Kenya Kwanza administration will commission a review that will consider improvement of remuneration and terms of service for all officers in the security sector to be commensurate with the current cost of living. And finally, we will deploy robust, creative, and engaging foreign exchange policy to raise Kenya's profile as a regional anchor state and amplify our partnership with the rest of the world, including Africa, USA, China, Europe, United Kingdom, India, among other partners. We will give a place of prominence to the role of Kenya's diaspora, including a ministry to take care of diaspora issues. Kenyans are rightfully skeptical of lofty promises and seemingly well-crafted plans that never get implemented. We have developed this plan well aware that this plan will stand or fall on implementation. We believe that the implementation plan outlined in this manifesto will demonstrate to Kenyans that this plan is rigorously appraised and financeable within the resources constraints that we face. Thank you very much.